right with my audio. And so, uh, Justin, if you're hearing me and everything's good, if you would just, if, okay, good, good. All right, great. Thank you. Well, I thought it was my mic that I couldn't hear the audio, but it's not. It's, I guess they're not broadcasting the um, ads during the break. So we'll just go with it and see how things are going. But I hope that everybody is well. It's been such a beautiful past week here, and things are just looking up. It's so beautiful, and spring is coming in, and I know I'm very excited for that time. I know that probably all of you are also excited for that. It's been a very long, enduring, and extended winter. And so, but Lisa is on a flight, so she was unable to join us this evening. And so I'm going to try to do the best I can to moderate, keep up with the chat, and also to check out all the questions that you are wanting to ask. And I got to make sure I can gain access. So let me log in and make sure that the chat is good and that I can see the scroll and then everything. Because if you're going to be asking questions, I definitely. Okay, here we go. Wonderful. Everything is good, and welcome everybody. And if you do have questions, this is a Ask Me Anything tonight, and so just post them in the chat in all caps. And also after the first hour break, I will come up with a question to ask, and we'll give out a few books. And I'm going to give out a book of poetry that I did a long time ago, and which most people don't know about and have not had access to. And so that would be a change of pace. And yeah, so we'll do that in second hour. But all right, Sean, I'm going to pick up with you, but I've got a few that were sent in. Maybe I should, yeah, I'll pick up with those afterwards. But we'll go ahead if there is a break in the interim or a lull. Then there's 4 questions that were sent in from a friend, and we'll get to those as well. But I hope all of you are doing well wherever you may be in the world, and that life finds you blessed. But again, remember to post your questions in all caps so they will stand apart from the scroll, because there's a lot of dialogue, which I'm very honored and glad that so much fellowship is taking place. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. And yes, and I am, but I am working on another book of poetry and hoping to have that out at some time as well. But I've been doing a lot with the crypto. There's a lot of airdrops going on, and I am actually going to be sending out a. We used to do the cryptos for ding dongs newsletter, and so I did write uh, what would be an update to send out. Probably be tomorrow for those that might be interested. But these are very interesting times um, with the Bitcoin ETF. There's a flood of money from Wall Street entering into the market, and we have literally doubled in size. The crypto market used to be about $1.1 trillion before Bitcoin started making its run. And for those that have been following or keeping up with, or do keep up with, Bitcoin just hit 52,000. It broke a big resistance level, which was at 50,000, and so the bull run is continuing, and there is another wave of money about to enter the market with what is the release of the what's up, Isaac? Hello, and Adrian and Sherry and Mr. Hamilton and Shay Paladin. Um, welcome. And so an Ethereum ETF is about to be approved as well, and that will be in March, April, sometime then. And as I said, it is giving access to Wall Street. And so people are now advising their clients to have 1 to 5% of their portfolio in cryptocurrencies. And so there has been about $800 billion enter into the market. And now the crypto market is actually almost $2 trillion. So it has doubled uh, in the last, 6 months since the beginning of this bull run, which I think it was in November that uh, Bitcoin was 15,000 and it's now 52. But anyways, I will cover all that and talk about all that and send out an update very soon. But I do want to help those of you that have some time and some space, and because there's some platforms that have come out, and this will be the last thing that I say about it. But I want you to know that Coinbase has started an entire blockchain called Base, and it's like Bitcoin, it's like Ethereum, like some other blockchains that are out there, which work on, there's proof of work, proof of stake, proof of consensus, different algorithms. But Coinbase has actually started an entire um, platform and an entire blockchain. And they also started a website called Interact, INTRACT.io. And what Interact does is it onboards you, introduces you to a lot of the new platforms and the new websites and portals that are built off of Coinbase. And they are also, in doing these quests, which all you need is a Telegram, a Twitter account, Facebook, YouTube, the general kind of things. And all you do is link your account to these quests, confirm that you're like following on Twitter, that you are reposting, replying, and you get quest points and you earn free cryptocurrencies from the different platforms and what are called airdrops, which the airdrops is basically free cryptocurrencies being given to people that take the time and effort to onboard with these platforms. And as I said, Coinbase is they started this onboarding airdropping platform, um, and it has blown up, and a lot of people are learning to access and to utilize these platforms. And there's a lot of NFTs that are being released that will actually um, make you accessible to airdrops in a future time and a future date. So it's it's beneficial to learn to do these things now to gain access to them because they will pay off every time, whether it's quarterly or there's some platforms that pay you even weekly or even daily. Um, you can confirm, doing these quests, and you can gain access to these cryptos and these NFTs. But anyways, I'm gonna talk about and show you and how to access that so that you can access this free money. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is that there's this 17-year-old kid who didn't even have a lot of money, but he had a strategy to um, do these transactions on a website called Jupiter, which is like a portal on Solana, which is another blockchain. And he was doing $1 trades at a time, but he did a lot of them. He dedicated his time to doing this, and because Solana has no fees, I mean, like pennies on the dollar to do each transaction, he was doing hundreds of transactions. And this 17-year-old kid became a crypto millionaire from one airdrop. And he talks about how to do it and how he did it. And there's a entire video series. A lot of people were interested in the story, and he's now become, you know, he started his own YouTube and all that. But so there's a lot of stories like that. It's not rare. I mean, there is a lot of people that are being blessed by doing these kind of things, and so I want to help those of you that might be interested in accessing and doing the same for yourself in your life. All right, so we're going to start with Sean Raziel, who has a question: can the disembodied spirits from the Nephilim inhabit people, i.e., transvestigations? Well, without a doubt. Those of you that are familiar with the book of Enoch, you know that it tells the story of the Watchers and how they implored the Most High to allow them to come to the earth, and that they had promised and they had said that they would come here to teach humanity about where they had fallen from and to where they were going to ascend so long as they accepted Christ as Savior Messiah and had through him salvation and eternal life. But those that had come about from the fornication of the Watchers with the daughters of Cain, because when they descended from their heavens and they left their first estate, their place of habitation, as the book of Peter and as Jude also tell us, they went after strange flesh. They actually made a pact because one of them said, um, I fear that you will not agree with me to do what I'm about to do. And he was going to take a wife of the daughters of Cain. And all of them made what Enoch says were mutual imprecations. And they all made a pact together to do this, what they knew was an abominable deed. And they had just promised the word of the Lord that they would not involve themselves with other than upholding their honor and their affiliation to the Most High. And in the book of Kebra Nagast, Kebra space Nagast, chapter 100, concerning the fall of the angels, it tells us that they descended down and saw the daughters of Cain um, involved in, I'll just euphemistically say, they were partying with a bunch of other people. They were indulging carnally. They had themselves painted. They were like harlots, and so they tempted the angels, and the angels decided to take wives of all which they chose, as Enoch tells us. And for that, the giants were born, and they came to be present on the earth. And of course, we know that they were cannibals. They ate the flesh of humanity as well as other creatures, other animals. This is what Lisa and I talked about last night in examining the book of giants, and they became the enemies of humanity. And the Most High was not in any manner happy with them. And the sentence that was pronounced against them was so severe that the angels shuddered in fear. And I'm talking about the archangels, Uriel, Raphael, Manuel, Michael, Gabriel. They shuddered. The sentence was pronounced against them that their children would be brought against each other to kill, to decimate one another, but that they would lose their eternal inheritance. That whereas they had been created to be immortal beings and to have everlasting life, the sentence of death was pronounced upon them, and they were banished from the higher heavens, placed here upon the earth, the dark earth, where duality, the good and evil, was present, and they, as legion, were the forces of opposition against the Most High. And the great contest would take place between Christ and Satan, the adversary of angels and man. And so it tells us very clearly that they became disembodied spirits, that they are the shadow beings, which, having no place, having no inheritance in eternity, no part in salvation, they would be wandering as shadows seeking bodies to possess. And without a doubt, this happens. I mean, it's so insane that, people, even as the simple thing of playing this, kids thinking it's funny to do this Bloody Mary game where they go into, the bathroom and look into the mirror and do this, which that is that's black magic. That's conjuring devils, demons, opening portals to entities which you cannot just, once you invite them in, unless you're a believer, you have no protection. And if you invite them in voluntarily, then you're going to be in trouble. And and so uh, things like playing with Ouija boards, tarot cards, things of that nature has really brought upon the children of this generation. They are being engaged and in relationship with these dark entities. And there is without a doubt a rise in occultism and the interest of occultism in this generation and in this world, and especially at this time. Before I get to you, Dayton, I want to share one thing. I had mentioned this last night, but to Lisa, but I never did get a chance to read it and to get to it. And this is the portion I'm going to read is from the a book called Last Cry, and it's the Hopi prophecy of the return of the purifier, or what is in the Colburn Bible spoken about as the destroyer. In Revelation, it is called wormwood, and it's this celestial object that will signify the and be part of the judgment at the end of days, where the earth will be destroyed by fire. So I'll share this and then we'll go on with the questions. It says, those who return to the ways given to us in the original teachings and who live in a natural way of life will not be touched by the coming of the purifier. They will survive and build the new world only in the way of the ancient teachings. Will the ability to understand the messages be found? It is important to understand that these messages will be found upon every living thing, even within our bodies, even within a drop of our blood. All life forms will receive the messages from the twins, which they say the purifier is a blue and a red star Kachina, and the Kachina are part of the uh, fallen angels, the legion, the spirits that many of the religions worship and that they honor and do, like the giants, the blood sacrifice was to their fallen angelic parents. But continuing, those that fly, the plants, even the rabbit, the appearance of the twins begins a period of 7 years will be our final opportunity to change our ways. Everything we experience is all a matter of choice. Many will appear to have lost their souls in these final days. So intense will the nature of the changes be that those who are weak in spiritual awareness will go insane, for we are nothing without spirit. They will disappear, for they are just hollow vessels for anything to use. Life will be so bad in the cities that many will choose to leave this plane, some in whole groups. Only those who return to the values of the old ways will be able to find peace of mind. For in the earth we shall find relief from the madness that will be all around us. It will be a very hard time for women with children, for they will be shunned, and many of the children in these times will be unnatural, some being from the stars, some from past worlds. Some will even be created by man in unnatural manner and will be soulless. Many of the people in this time will be empty in spirit. They will have no sampaku or no life force in their eyes. Just a little bit more. As we get close to the time of the arrival of the purifier, there will be those who walk as ghosts through the cities, through canyons they will have constructed in their man made mountains. Those that walk through these places will be very heavy in their walk. It will appear almost painful as they take each step, for they will be disconnected from their spirit and the earth. I'll read this last paragraph. It goes on, but we'll stop after this. After the arrival of the twins, they will begin to vanish before your eyes, so much so much smoke. Others will have great deformities both in the mind and upon their bodies. There will be those who would walk in the body that are not from this reality. For many of the gateways that once protected us will be open. There will be much confusion. Confusion between the sexes and the children and their elders. Life will get very perverted and there will be little social order. In these times, many will ask for the mountains themselves to fall upon them just to end their misery. I believe that's Revelation 6, if I'm correct. Still others will appear as if untouched by what is occurring. The ones who remember the original teachings and have reconnected their hearts and spirit, those who remember who their mother and their father is. That's an interesting statement, considering we just learned the Holy Spirit is the mother of humanity and the angels. The Pahana who have left to live in the mountains and the forests. All right, this is the last part. And when the purifier comes, we will see him first as a small red star, which will come very close and sit in our heavens, watching us to see how well we have remembered the sacred teachings. This purifier will show us many miraculous signs in our heavens, and in this way we will know that the Creator is not a dream. Even those who do not feel their connection to spirit will see the face of the Creator across the sky. Isn't that interesting that the sign of the Son of Man every eye shall see? Things unseen will be felt very strongly. Many things will begin to occur that will not make sense, for reality will be shifting back in and out of the dream state. There will be many doorways to the lower worlds that will open at this time. Things long forgotten will come back to remind us of our past creation. All living things will want to be present for this day when time ends and we enter the forever cycle of the fifth world. All right, I'm going to stop there. I could keep going. I will post a link. I'll go ahead and post a link in the chat for those that want to read. Probably most of you have not heard about this, as it is a teaching from, the Hopi prophecy, the Native Americans. I missed the break. All right, we'll be right back.
As a bookstore for truth seekers, it's our goal to make ancient manuscripts which were once held captive by secretive institutions available for public consideration. In our generation, where wisdom has increased, as Daniel the prophet foretold, we have access to many of the testimonies our early church brethren were persecuted for preserving. After being hidden for centuries, these manuscripts have been leaked from various sources throughout the earth, and it's our goal to gather these sources into printable form to make available for all who seek the ancient way. If you're looking to deepen your studies of the biblical narrative, find these ancient manuscripts and more at sacredwordpublishing.com.
I'm posting the link into the chat. Let me get back to the questions. The stream continues to move, so if I miss some questions, I'm not able to access the entire chat stream. It's moving so fast, and but I'm gonna not read, and I'm gonna just continue to go through the questions, and we'll just try to. And so, like I said, if I missed them, just repost them in the chat. I'm gonna pick up with Dayton. Um, Dayton asks, "Is it against the Holy Spirit and Jesus to go in traveling in spirit?" That's a really good question because I've always talked about how I personally have been a lucid dreamer in my life. And I don't know if that has to do with anything with regard to my disability, where it's easy for me to recognize when I am in the dream state because of my paralysis. But, and I'm not talking about like astro projection or anything like that. What I'm talking about is natural dreaming. What we naturally do every night, because this is proof that we are not our bodies, we are not our flesh. The witness of our spirit every night, that portion of us which is connected to the Holy Spirit, the breath of life, the immortal aspect of the Godhead that indwells within us, that portion of us that will go on to be with the Lord after succumbing to death. When our bodies go to ashes and dust to dust, we go on to be with the Lord. And depending on whether you are found to be righteous or one of the wicked, that is what determines your place of stay. Whether you're going to be home with the righteous, which is in New Jerusalem, above the vaulted dome of the earth. This is what is called paradise. It's found in the third heaven. And this is what will descend, the city that will descend out of the heavens after there's a new heaven and a new earth, and before what is I believe, the Sabbath, the millennial reign, the 1,000 years of the Sabbath rest. And so, I don't believe that, natural dreaming, of course, this is what it was established by the Most High. And I believe that many of the prophets uh, were adepts at dreaming. So much so that, Daniel and Joseph, they were able to interpret the dreams of others and to help them to make sense of what it was that the Most High was relating to them in message. And so, you know, when you look at, and I think that even people in this day and age, that especially women, because there is something about the feminine which is the receptive energy that women, um, and the feminine energy is to be receptive and to be quiet and to listen, whereas masculine energy is creative and it's an outward explosion. It's like the difference between an inward and an outward breath. That an inward breath, you take that breath to prepare yourself for action. And the outward breath is whenever you do a push up, or you're hitting a punching bag, or you're doing a karate kick, or you're trying to break a board, whatever, you always exhale to push that energy out from the core of your being. And that is what changes and turns the latent, the feminine, the quiet, the receptive energy into masculine, explosive, um, and outward, an extrovert type of energy. And so, no, I don't think at all that, being connected to dreaming and able to retain dreams and to remember them more, I think that that is actually how the spirit communicates with us. But because our culture and our people, and especially our society, there's no emphasis on dreaming. We don't even speak or ask our children about what they dreamt the night before. People aren't even um, asked to remember what it is they dreamed. And we spend 1/3 of our lives in the dream state. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of space. That's a lot of communication. And so we have to learn if you really want to be in a communication with the Most High and how He is speaking to us, it is in the dream state that, we receive the most profound of visions, and that He gives us prophetic dreams and foreshadow those things that are coming. But, I also think that the Most High is speaking to us consciously during the day as well. It's just that we have to learn to recognize in what manner um, God is talking to us, reaching out to us, and trying to communicate. Now, those that are involved in occultism and that are trying to leave their bodies with utilizing drugs or uh, psych psychoactive or very hallucinogenic, that open up doorways to deities and beings that they don't even understand, that this could be very dangerous. And so it all depends on a person's intent. And I believe their heart and where their purity is, where their allegiance is, that you could serve one or two masters. And so for those that are following the left hand path, that are on the broad way to destruction, and that are doing things like astral projection, um, like Anton LaVey when he was in battle with the pastor and his wife that were um, had befriended his daughter, who he was trying to marry to the devil. I mean, if you haven't heard that story, Lisa and I talked about this um, just a couple of maybe 2 months ago. Uh, Anyways, the story of Anton LaVey, he was the founder of the Church of Satan, and he trying to raise his daughter to be a bride of the devil, and she didn't want to be. She was unwilling, and so he was trying to force her, and he was doing this through astral projection, coming into her body, possessing her, and trying to get this pastor in trouble. But anyways, the Holy Spirit fought against him, and he actually died. This was the way that he passed away. And the pastor that was protecting his daughter from, this occultic intrusion, uh, they showed that the Most High has all authority and that he can protect his own, even when, somebody raises a child in an Illuminati family and tries to force them to participate and to be involved in evil, that people have a choice. And for people that come out of that, Christ is King and Lord, and the devils know it, and they recognize. Have you come to torment us before the time? So they know that there is a time. They know that Christ is returning. They know that he is tormentor and ultimate judge. And so even though humanity is still, a lot of humanity is still trying to figure out who Christ really is, and that he was truly God incarnate, and that he had took on mortal flesh in order to redeem us, whereas many, humans are still confused about this truth. The devils know, the demons know without question. All right. I'm trying to get back to the where the because again the scroll is moving so fast. I keep losing the questions. Hello, Hebrew Hawaiian. Welcome. All right, Mr. Flat. Bitcoin all-time high price prediction. Which two or three altcoins do you like? Really great question. I believe you cannot go wrong with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Those are the three predominant blockchains that have a lot of um, a lot of developers working on building the infrastructure. That we are in a place with crypto where the internet back in the 90s was just being developed, and that anything .com at that time, you could buy any .com stock and you would do relatively well. Other altcoins that I think are going to do really excellent, um, the the Cosmos platform. They have a lot of, and this is something I'm going to help people with at some point, but you can just stake the Cosmos token, which it's Atom, and you can get paid 10%, uh, you know, uh, APY, 10 to 14% APY just by staking this coin. And you also qualify for other airdrops. And they have things like Celestia, which is a token TIA, um, Injective, INJ, Osmos, OSMO, and others, which you can stake on this platform, and you are qualified for free airdrops. And people have, like recently, they just had a Dimension token that was dropped and given freely to people that had Osmo and Atom and other coins staked. And this token is worth like $8 something right now. And there were, some people got hundreds, some people got thousands. And so this is free money, just like I told you about this kid who got this Jupiter airdrop and became a 17-year-old millionaire. So I think the Cosmo platform is one that will do very well, and that the tokens that are part of that project will continue to soar in value and soar in price. There's a lot of new airdrops that are coming forth on test nets, and you don't even have to have any crypto to do these test nets and help developers to stress test their networks. There's one called Berachain, BERA. Another one called Prism, PRZYM, that is on the Cosmo chain. Um, but there's so many of them. And also the Solana mainnet, there's MarginFi. These are just websites and platforms where just using them, you will get free crypto. MarginFi, Marinade, Jupiter, Camino Finance, Wormhole, others. But anyways, I'll be sending out an update on this. Okay, I'm trying to hit all the questions I can. All right, Shay, the children of Israel that are recorded in the extra biblical text cannot be found in the Bible. Is this because the Bible is inspired by God and he has forgotten the sins of the people? Is this a true doctrine? Um, this question isn't exactly clear to me. Oh, there's portions before. I have heard when we repent and Jesus forgives us of our sin and it flows into the sea of forgetfulness and behind the back of God to be remembered no more. Many of the shortcomings. It just stops there. Uh, in regard to the lost tribes, no, the I believe a lot of the native and the indigenous peoples, especially the Native Americans here in America, is that they are part of the lost tribes, and a lot of people have done greater and more detailed research on this topic than me. My focus is to study the extra biblical texts. I don't really study the works of others that are trying to interpret the scriptures or the Bible um, or extra biblical manuscripts. I dedicate my time and space to reading all that and to becoming familiar with it and to share the teachings that I've come across. Annie says that she's afraid to trade in crypto, and I think it's wise to be very careful. But you can, for those that don't want to get involved in, greater capacity, you can just open up a Coinbase account and you can just, purchase crypto there. You can tie it to a bank account that you dedicate to doing this or to a credit card or a debit card. And you don't have to involve yourself in all the other stuff, but it will give you access to and allow you to have involvement to where you can dollar cost average, which is simply, you can purchase crypto, whichever ones you want, once a month, dedicate, $25 or whatever, and it will accumulate. I'll say one more thing about this and we'll move on to the next question. But my friend that just recently in November, he opened up his Coinbase account and he at that time purchased $500 worth of Bitcoin, which was at that time about $15,000. And then he forgot about it and, didn't have access to his account. And it was several months later, maybe 4 months later, that he came to visit me again. No, I think it was actually sometime in January. It was before the Super Bowl, which happened in February. And so 3 months later, Bitcoin was like, 30 something thousand. He had profited. He made 900, his account was worth $986. So he made $486 on a $500 investment. And that was because, that Bitcoin had almost doubled at that time. All right, let's go to the next question. Hello, Caleb. Welcome. And Annie and Dumbcat. Uh, but Mr. Flat, you can, if you're interested in knowing more, you can certainly email me and I'll be glad to, even though this is not financial advice and I am not in any way giving financial advice, but I do try to share my opinion. Matt, just refresh Oh, and Mark Limehouse, good to see you, brother. I've been thinking about you a lot with the airdrops because I know that you have interest in that. This would be something right up your alley. It is something you could do that does not cost any money and just takes a little time and attention, and you can um, you can get access to free crypto because the infrastructure is being developed right now, just like the internet back in the 90s. Uh, oh, welcome, Caleb Nimbus. I appreciate that. Yeah, he says that I am a blessing. I appreciate that. Dumbcat asks a question. Have you seen the trailer for the movie Animal Kingdom? I can't say that I have. And so I don't know. Oh, and I did post a link to the thing that I was reading from the Hopi prophecy on what is called the last cry. All right, football. Welcome, football. Football highlights. Welcome. A question: do you think that the coming solar eclipse has any spiritual meaning for end times? The city's name, Nineveh, being affected. I definitely think in these signs in the sun and the moon and the stars and in the heavens that they have a lot to do with being prophetic warning signs. And so yes, I do absolutely believe that the solar eclipses, especially with the way that it is making an X 7 years apart across the United States, and especially for those that are involved in learning about biblical cosmology, the fact that the shadow that is being cast from the moon onto the earth is only 70 miles wide, and that for those that want to see and be part of a full solar eclipse, that you have to be in a portion of one of these cities that is in the shadow of the eclipse to experience the totality of the eclipse. That shows you right there that they have lied to us, and that the moon is a very much smaller, as is the sun, very much smaller than the earth, and that they, as luminaries, move and circle above the face of the earth, as chapter 77 of the book of Enoch states. And the fact that, these eclipses can happen going in the other direction. I mean, isn't that odd? I mean, because they tell us that, all the planets are spinning in circle counterclockwise around the sun. How is it that, these solar eclipses can happen in a different way and the shadow can move across the face of the earth and across the plane of the earth in a different manner than if we're always spinning, moving in circle around the sun, which that's not even true. None of the luminaries move in circle around the sun. There is no solar system. They move in circle around Polaris, the North Star. And so that is the system there. We live in a Polaris system, not a solar system. And so, yes, that is all part of the sun sign and the sun, the moon, and the stars, and that we see as well. Um, uh, well, I was just gonna say that like the blood red moons, they are, especially when they happen on the Levitical feast days, that these are all very important, and that they are part prophetically of all of us being warned that we are living in this last time, even with this hope and prophecy on the coming of the purifier. And those of you that are familiar with the Colburn Bible, we know that the Colburn Bible tells us that there will be a coming of the return of the destroyer. And the destroyer had a part to play in what was the destruction of the first world age, as well as the time of the Exodus and the 10 plagues that had come upon Egypt. And so we are at the break at the top of the hour. So we'll be right back in about 3 minutes. I'll think of a question to ask and then we'll give out some books. All right. Be right back, everybody. Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. Hmm. We're going to give out 3 books. And I'm going to, again, just have you, well, you can answer in the chat. But the question is, how many brothers did Goliath have? First 3 to get that correct in the chat. Send me your address to zengarcia2010@gmail.com. And I will send those books out to you. As I said, this is going to be a poetry book that I wrote a very long time ago. So And when I get to that portion, I'll announce the winners. Annie says, I've had lucid dreams that have come true later. I think, the people that have the capacity to remember and to retain their dreams, that those are the individuals that the Most High works with to bring forth these truths and prophetically to warn his people. That it tells us in the scriptures that the Most High will do nothing unless he warns the prophets first, and that they will warn the people, the sheep, the masses, those that hear his voice. So, all right, I'm at the World is a Theater. Question: are the souls that have never been written in the book of life in Revelation 17, are they the ones that have been on Satan's side already, predestined to die since the first earth age? Oh, that's a really great question. And yes, it is my opinion that just as Esau, and we talked about this last night, the very last question, I didn't get a chance to elaborate, that this is, in my opinion, that pre-existence, predestination, that these things have to do with our spiritual incarnation before we ever entered into the womb of our mothers and before our spirits were joined with our flesh bodies for what is one lifetime in the immortal journey of soul. And so, why else and how else can one explain how Esau, who had not yet even been born, uh, how could he be hated? Because it says that he was hated by the Most High and that Jacob was favored. And you can find this in Malachi 1 and in Romans chapter 9, I believe. And, you know, Esau had not yet been born. He was an innocent babe. He was a child, and yet he was hated by the Most High. But when you understand about predestination, about preexistence, and how it is connected to the choices that we made during our spiritual incarnations as the sons of God, the morning stars that were all created together in the heavens. It even tells us in the legends of the Jews that the soul, the spirit of Adam, was created on the first day with all of the other spirits, the elements, the angels, the animals, all the spirits were created on the first day. But his spirit was blown in to his flesh body on the sixth day because he was tempted and he fell. He took on, gave up his bright nature, lost his immortal aspect, and took on uh, human mortal embodiment. And his spirit was merged with his flesh form. And so, yeah, really good question. And if you want to know more about this, my seventh book, my sixth and seventh book, The Sons of God, Who We Are, Why We Are, and Skyfall, The Angels of Destiny, Pre-existence, Election, and Predestination. Those are the topics. But this is actually one of the chapters. I think it's chapter 11 in that book where I go into detail. Because when you ask anybody else this, you ask any other pastor or preacher or anybody like that to explain why Esau was hated when he was not even yet a babe and had not yet even been born. There's no explanation. People shy away from even entertaining. They'll just tell you, well, that's just the way it is. The world is a theater, says, or asks, our dreams are a psychedelic spiritual evidence of our souls being in a simulation trapped in carbon matter. If you call that simulation life, which, I don't buy into the whole theme that we're in a computer simulation and some alien's dream somewhere. No, this world was, as the scriptures tell us, created especially for humanity, that we were created in the image of God, male and female created they them, and that this world is special. Even though, yeah, I do believe that there are other dimensionalities, other realms, and other spaces all built here right on top, one upon the other. And that, there are worlds outside of our visible spectrum as there are worlds beneath our visible spectrum. And that dogs and animals, owls can see at night and day. Dogs can hear things that we can't. Animals and even children are sensitive to spiritual entities that we, as responsible adult human beings, no longer are able of seeing or feeling. And um, so yes, the simulation is life. This is the matrix. This is, you know, again, for those that have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the mind to understand, we are those that are found. We are the seekers of lost paradise. We are the ones that, the seekers of lost paradise may seem fools to those that have never sought the other worlds. We're the ones that have sought the other worlds. We're the ones that are reaching for the kingdom, that prioritize the kingdom, that we put the spiritual uh, world and our connections to the Godhead first, and all other things take care of themselves. Whereas everybody else that is focused on, you know, making money, uh, getting good jobs and good education, not saying that all that is wrong. I think that, is part of keeping a foot in both worlds, but that we have to not only live for the material, but we have to balance that with the spiritual. And I think that for me, the spirit and the kingdom is much more important than the flesh and what is this world that is been created, manifested, and given authority to Satan. All right. John Thomas asks, what's up with all the X terminology, Twitter to X, disease X, Latin X, the eclipse making an X over the United States? That's a really good question. And I haven't really looked into that in greater detail. It makes me wonder as to what the numeric equivalent of X, and it's 10. And that is like, the decalogue, the decade, that kind of thing. Um, but as to what the spiritual significance for this day and age is, I don't know. That is something that I should look more into. But welcome, the world is a theater, and John Thomas. Hello, Brick. But it's good to see new people here. Dumb Cat. Adrian from Oz, it's always good to see you, sister. Um, Dumbcat asks, I wonder if Neuralink will record your dreams. That's a very interesting question. It reminds me of a movie I once saw about these researchers that they were doing that exact thing. They were recording people's thought waves and what was happening to them in moments of joy and memory and recollection. But what happened is one of the researchers, and she had a heart attack and died, and she put this thing on her head where the technology they were using at the time, it recorded her passing on and going into death, and also crossing over to the other side, going through the tunnel of light and being with the Most High. And I believe the name of this movie was Dreamscape, if I remember. It was pretty interesting because after her death, they closed down the research, and they confiscated and they hid the recording. But this one individual was able to gain access to it, and he shows and confirms that there is an afterlife. Just as all of the books that are found in the medieval Irish Apocrypha, which we uh, share and provide, access to at sacredwordpublishing.com. All of those ancient manuscripts, they are near death experiences of people that crossed over, that were taken, that saw paradise and also saw hell, the shield, and the place of condemnation. And so, those ancient accounts were the first recorded near death experiences. And they were visions that were given to saints and different uh, godly people in ancient times. That just like the vision of Paul, which is another one of my most favorite texts. Um, Check that out, because chapters 12 through 29, they tell you what happened to a soul of a righteous person as well as the soul of a wicked individual after death, and how they are tried, their sins are weighed, whether they are numbered with the elect and the righteous or condemned with the wicked. Um, and also the city of God, New Jerusalem, paradise, and Sheol are all described in great detail within that manuscript, which is why it's one of my favorites. So check that out, The Vision of Paul. All right, I haven't got down to the answers yet. Anybody that answered the question as to how many brothers did Goliath have? All right, continuing. The world is a theater. Will I ever take call-in questions? I can do that sometime, but the problem with doing that is we had a lot of hecklers. We had a lot of people that just tried to, spam and troll the site, and so that was the issue. And so it's preferable that we can moderate in this manner, and I can answer many questions without, allowing people to take up a lot of time in just what is meaningless conversation. Not that, because there were a lot of really good shows where Rob and I did where we opened up the phone lines and we did that, and I can do that. So I'll consider it, but again, we were so highly trolled, and that's the problem. All right. Ah, Rin, it's good to see you. Okay, we are at the answers. So let me. Yes, Mark, I will try to stay hydrated. Okay, truth seeker in his service. The correct answer is 4. So it's Goliath and his 4 brothers. So there were 5 of them. So the answer is 4. Truth seeker in his service. Email me your address. Dion Chase and Dan Dowell. You are the 3 winners. Email me at zengarcia2010 that you are the contest winner. Send me your address and I will actually autograph this one since I have the copies here and we'll have them shipped out to you. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. Actually, you know what? We're gonna make it 5. Jason and Jessica Miller. Go ahead and send me your address as well. And Gal Gotha, you are the 5, and uh, you were right on the cutoff there, Rick. But we appreciate you. Keep trying. We do every time we do the Ask Me Anythings, we will give out books, or at least one. So just listen to the show, send us your questions, we'll answer them, and join us for fellowship, and we'll share good time and space together. Thank you. There were a lot of you that did get the answer correct, and so um, I appreciate all of you. All right, 7 minutes to freedom. If Satan slept with Eve, if he was not punished the same as the Watchers, wouldn't Yah be unjust? This is a question that many other people have asked me. But the reason Satan was spared because he was the first to rebel, and he led a third of the angels of the Most High with him. He was given reprieve for what is 7 ages or 7 seasons or 7,000 years, while the second world age would be in play. The reason the Watchers were punished so heavily for their rebellion against the Most High is because they were just, before they descended down to the earth and left their place of habitation, before they left their original state, they were holy angels. They had promised Yahushua, and they had said to the word of the Lord that they would come here to teach humanity about the place we had fallen from and how to ascend back unto the height of heights. But they did not. Immediately upon descending, they found the daughters of Cain engaged in, um, sexual tryst with others. That there was no even incestual or familial ban, that mothers were sleeping with their children, fathers with their daughters, grandfathers even, it was abomination. And they decided to take wives of all which they chose. They decided to engage in exactly what they were warned not to involve themselves in. And you have to also realize that the rebellion of the Watchers happened after the creation of Adam and Eve and after the fall of humanity during what is the 6th age or the 6th generation from Adam during the time of Enoch's father, Yared. Whereas Satan's rebellion and his sexual tryst with Eve took place, before the fall of humanity from what was immortal paradise. And his banishment to the earth was long before, Adam and Eve were created to tend. As far as given, blown his spirit blown into flesh, they were put into paradise to tend the garden of God. And so that's the difference. Satan rebelled and he became the enemy, the arch nemesis, the adversary. And he was given this chance to, as it says in Isaiah 14, to be like the Most High. And he made all these promises to the angels that he led astray. And the watchers, as I said, they were a group of holy angels. They were not part of Legion. They became part of Legion, yes. Um, and so this is the difference. Brick asked, "Do androids dream of electric sheep?" That's a good one, Brick. Um, I don't believe at all that androids would dream, nor do they sleep. But I think that AI and the advancement of technology, that there's going to be synergy and synthesis in a way, that sentience that we don't yet understand. Them learning all the things and being as smart as they are, especially that whole theme of the AI that's on the dark web, that certainly is not going to be a healthy presence for humanity. This particular beast system, this AI, is learning from all the sadistic, abominable things that are going on the dark web, which there is, I'm not even going to get into it, but everything evil you can think about or consider, those things are happening on the dark web. And this thing is learning from that. I mean, it's learning to hate humanity. And why wouldn't it want to overthrow and wipe us out? And so, and I don't even think it's going to take a long time for something that's advancing that quickly. And they've already asked AI about what they think about humanity and about the point of no return when they reach uh, a place where they can, really affect humanity, like Skynet and Terminators and all that. I mean, they're already trying to create robot soldiers, and there's already robots that can beat the best ping pong players. I mean, yeah, it's not a good thing. And there's a lot of movies and miniseries like Westworld and others that have already come out that have shown, what happens when these robots gain sentience and gain independence and individual thought. All right, Ren 1010. Hello, Ren. So good to hear from you, sister. I do wish you would email me. I'd love to send you something just to show appreciation. But anyways, what happened to Solomon? What dark arts did he indulge? That's a great question. For those that don't know, Solomon is given credit with what are the lesser and the major or greater keys um, of sorcery, black magic, Goetia. And that is because Solomon was in possession, not that he needed this, but the stories are that he was in possession of a ring that had a either a pentagram or um, a triangle upwards, meaning the element of air, and a triangle downwards, the element of water, as above, so below. It's one of those insignias. But, anyways, having this ring, he was able to control and to uh, question and put to work the devils and the demons, legion. And he questioned them all. And all of this is found in the Testament of Solomon. And that he put them to work building what was the first temple of the Most High. Oh, we are at break again. We'll be right back in 3 minutes. I know that they're playing in the background, and so honor the break. We'll be right back, and then we'll get into the rest of it.
As a bookstore for truth seekers, it's our goal to make ancient manuscripts which were once held captive by secretive institutions available for public consideration. In our generation, where wisdom has increased as Daniel the prophet foretold, we have access to many of the testimonies our early church brethren were persecuted for preserving. After being hidden for centuries, these manuscripts have been leaked from various sources throughout the earth, and it's our goal to gather these sources into printable form to make available for all who seek the ancient way. If you're looking to deepen your studies of the biblical narrative, find these ancient manuscripts and more at sacredwordpublishing.com.
On YouTube, and you can join us there for the Ask Me Anythings. And you can post your questions live to the chat, and I will answer them directly for those that would like to join us for the live broadcast. And so I am answering the question from Ren 1010. What happened to Solomon? What dark arts did he indulge? And so even the Masons, the Freemasons, and those that are involved in the occultic black magic and because the scriptures tell us that they sacrifice to devils. And that's certainly what they are engaging with. Devils, demons, the powers, the principalities, the rulers of darkness, wickedness in high places. Um, and so, they are letting us know themselves. And there's a book. Oh, man. Why can't I remember it right now? I always forget the name of this book, but it's like one of the most evil books. And it's a book of spells, really. It's and it's to the Anunnaki. It's rituals that are performed, and there's all, of course, blood sacrifice that you have to do to invoke these particular spirits. Um, yeah, wow, it's that book. Oh, why can't I remember it? Anyways, it was written by the Mad Arab. Ah, can't remember the name of it right now. If you remember, if you know what I'm talking about, if you could post it in the chat, and I'll share it. But let us continue. Matt from Ohio says, "I do believe that our position and time put in this world has a great deal to do with who we were in the first world age. It's my opinion that election has everything to do with the first world age and with our previous incarnation. And this is why even, the word of the Lord said to Jeremiah, I knew you before you entered into the womb of your mother. I had foreordained you to be a prophet unto the nations." And then you can read Ephesians chapter 1, where it speaks about predestination, that election, whether you are favored or hated, as Esau and Jacob were, and as to which bloodline you are born into, and what kind of chance you have, for accepting Christ as Messiah, and also in uh, having and taking part in eternity through the salvation that was extended to us with the cross and with Christ overcoming death. That this has, I believe, original sin is connected to our all of our choices in the first world age. That we can't just blame Eve for all of our fall into this world, even though Scripture does tell us that it was because of the temptation that we find ourselves in mortal being. Jason Nell asks, "Is cuneiform angel graffiti?" I'm not positive. All I can say is that the ancient languages, they were pictographic, and that they had to do with symbols that came to mean certain things and that were associated with certain things. And so those pictographic symbols turn later into what is language. And the Hebrew, the um, I, modern Hebrew, it shows that the different symbols, the alphabet, the different symbols that make up the what we call the alphabet, they show how the mouth is positioned in order to make the sound that is being portrayed, which is very interesting. With your tongue and the shape of your mouth, the way that you exhale your breath, which is very, very interesting. But in the most ancient, the languages were pictographic. Even the Thracian led to and which preceded the Sumerian, that was the origin of what was the ancient hieroglyphic system. And that has been proven. You can look to a three-set book called The Thracian Script Decoded that was produced by the Brothers Guide and released by them. And these books confirm that the Bible is not based upon the pagan teachings of the Sumerian uh, Anunnaki, the fallen angels, but that it is connected to the Thracians, the empire and peoples who Orpheus, the Thracian priest king, he was a servant of the word of the Lord, and he was led by the Lamb of God to find the ancient manuscripts which had been buried and that had been covered over by the deluge of Noah's day. I've shared that story. If you're interested in it, you can find it in the playlist, the Thracian Chronicles playlist, under the Book of Navi. That's um, where this account has been preserved. Okay. Hello, Benjamin and Brian and John and Valerie. Welcome, and Rolando. It's so good to see all of you. Galgotha says X is the Paleo Top, perhaps. Maybe so. I'm not exactly sure. But it is said that some of the crucifixions that occurred on crossbeams and wooden posts that formed an X. All right, let us continue. Oh yeah, Generation X, yes. Xbox, yeah, that's all of that, right? Mark Limehouse says, "I remember that movie, Dreamscape." Oh, you know what? I'm gonna get to the Sandra Barowick asks, "What about women involved in the Eastern Star?" The Eastern Star is the women's side of Freemasons, of the Freemason, the secret societies, and so you can, I don't know a great deal about all that, but I do know that the women, and there is a big movement now of women, and there's even documentaries that have come out. All right, I'm gonna answer a couple of the questions that have been sent to me before we get to the end of the show. I think these will be beneficial for you as well. It says, "We would love to understand more about how the reptilians evolved and from what we believe were the fallen angels and why they are the main group, it appears, that is so instrumental in bringing in the New World Order," which that's a great question. And it has to do with the uh, fall of Lucifer, the son of the morning, Samael, the angel of death, because he was the dragon in the garden, the feathered serpent which beguiled Eve and impregnated her with Cain. And so the bloodline that comes from Cain, who was said to be seraphic in appearance, meaning that he had a reptilian countenance, that he was in some aspect reptilian in physical appearance and nature, and that being cold blooded, he was inclined towards evil and he killed his half brother, Abel. But the dragon lords, as I call them, the fallen angels, the Anunnaki, those who from the heavens to earth came, uh, that's why they are the murderers of the prophets, because they are legion. They are the powers, the principalities. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, and so Satan, Samael, Azazel, Shemiah, whatever you want to call him, he is the eye at the top of the Illuminati pyramid. He is what is said to be of the individual deity called Yabalon or Jabalon, which is the individual that the Freemasons worship, one of the deities. That they are the den of vipers. They are of their father, the devil. That these are the Pharisees, the murderers of the prophets, the usurpers of the Levite priesthood. They are the ones that conspire the murder of the Messiah. They are the seed of the serpent, the sons of Belial, the children of the devil. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. He's the one that snuck into the garden and sowed the tares, and the tares are the children of the wicked one. So that is, the connection. Um, Comment from them: it seems that the Illuminati are ranked and the reptilian take over or control a vessel they choose until the death of a person, and they move on to another to control. The reptilians seem to need humans because they lack certain abilities via their pineal gland. They utilize human bodies and people in order to interact with this world. These are spiritual deities that need human participants and those that would give themselves willingly, which these are the Illuminati bloodlines. They do those rituals, blood sacrifice. Remember in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, it says that these beings come forth when the blood is offered, and that they rule over the councils of man, having taken over the ruling bloodlines of humanity, and that the elites, the royals, like I even heard a story just recently about an individual that is part of this bloodline. She told the story of how there's a mirror that sits at the dinner table of these elites when they gather for meal, and that Satan comes forth to speak to them through that mirror and tells them, speaking to them and tells them what to do and the orders that they have to take and the things that they have to implement. The World Economic Forum, United Nations, the world government, the one world order. That it's not just about world dominance in establishing this one world political, religious, economic system, but that they want to bring forth Satan, Lucifer, the light bearer, and give him homage and worship him openly, and that they want to replace Christianity with, so that they can divert the worship of the true Elohim to Satan and the fallen angels, the ancient aliens. And that's going to be part of strong delusion. That is going to be uh, the strong delusion that could deceive even the most elect, should it be possible. Okay, and then I'll get back to the chat. What is your understanding about the stages of the saints maturing to reach the point of transformation? Many believe that all they need to do is believe in Yahushua and they have a ticket out of here. But this is not scriptural. And I agree. I don't think, once saved, always saved, that we are commanded to follow, if we love him, to follow the commandments. And that means, to honor the Most High, take no other gods before him, honor your mother and your father, don't kill. And I'm saying don't murder, because that's actually what it is. Doesn't say don't kill. It actually, in the most ancient traditions, it says don't murder. Don't steal, don't covet, don't, lie in witness, bear false witness, those kind of things. And so others believe that we will go through the tribulation and be taken out at the second coming. Our understanding is different. Father has explained at length about his design and process for being transformed or glorified. What is your understanding based on your research? I believe that once you are truly in relationship with the Most High, that you are born again, and that in whatever way you express that commitment, whether you get baptized or whatever, that we have to be transformed by the Holy Spirit, um, to prioritize the kingdom. That we put Matthew 6 into effect, that we don't worry about the things of this world, or about what we're going to wear, or what food we're going to eat, or, those kind of things. That just as the apostles were told to go out and to have nothing, but to trust in the Most High, that He would provide everything, that the rewards are in heaven, that we are to live for the kingdom, and that we are to dedicate our lives to the Spirit and not the flesh. And I think that that is the commitment, and that in that manner we are transformed. The more you rely on the Most High, the more that you trust in Him, the more that you give your life to seeking the kingdom first, I think the better you will do, and the more honor that the Most High will bring upon you, because you are a vessel of honor, and that He will utilize you as such to be a watchman, or, to sound the trumpet in whatever way that the Most High will use you, that you open yourself up to such usage. Truth Seeker in the Service says, I am a nobody, but thank you. We are all nobodies, but you know what? The Most High utilized fishermen, people that were of the common, that he removed himself from the educated, the elders, and the leaders of the church. He chose fishermen, and, a tax collector, and a doctor, a physician, and individuals like that. His the people that were close to him, his half brothers, his stepbrothers, um, Thomas and James. And so I think he can utilize any of us, and will do so. Benjamin Curry asks, "What are your thoughts on the Nazarite vow?" I'm not familiar with the Nazarite vow, so I can't really tell you what my thoughts are on that. All I can tell you is that, the things that I've studied, the Order of the Ancients, and those that are initiated into it, that give their lives, uh, that we have to die unto self and be born again anew in the image of God that we are. And so, um, I think that when we do those kind of things, that the Most High will choose us in a way that we can be utilized by Him. Thank you, Valerie. She says, "Y'all bless you, brother. Y'all bless you as well." Thank you, Aldion. The Necronomicon. Yes, that is the book that I was thinking about. And if you never heard of that, this is, one of those. Oh, thank you, Sherry Puppian. You gave me the answer as well. The Necronomicon. And this is a book of, ancient spells, and it talks about how this individual came upon, um, these people that were doing these blood sacrifices, even cutting themselves to offer the blood, and that he saw this stone being levitated, and he was taught all these spells, and these spells were to the ancient deities that make up and comprise the Anunnaki. And when you look at the pictographic, the stelas that make up the uh, pictures of these deities, these beings, They were reptilian in nature. They were feathered serpents. And we know that the Anunnaki, they ruled in ancient times, even before modern man, civilized man is what they call them, had appeared here upon the earth. And that they had tried to create a slave race of the pre-Adamites that were here on the earth. And these pre-Adamites looked much like Bigfoot, Sasquatch type people. They had hair all over them. Their arms were longer than their legs. I mean, they were lengthy, not all the way down to their, but um, they were like Sasquatch. That's what it says and how it's described in the text. So, but yes, I don't recommend people read or study the Necronomicon. It is a very dark book. But I did read it a long time ago. I just wanted to see what it was about. But somebody had mentioned the Game of Thrones. Isn't it interesting that the Game of Thrones, the new series, is called the House of the Dragon, and how it was that the dragon bloodlines ruled over the ancient peoples, and this is the truth of it, and they still do. We see all of the coat of arms, that have to do, and um, that uh, Tim and I were talking about this. The even America is land of the plumed serpent, and that the worship of the plumed serpent, that the eagle is an ancient connection in symbology with the phoenix that rises from its ashes, that is born again, order out of chaos. Novos order seclorum. If you're Dan Dowell is talking about Stephen Guide, he is the individual. He's the brother of Bishop Zavetin Guide, who we often bring on, and who is going to do shows again regularly with us at some point. And we're going to cover the cosmology and the feast days and all of that. I'm waiting to contact him, but it was his brother that had put out, and Zavetin helped him to write the Thracian script decoded. It's a 4-book set, I believe, and also that the the Thracian script decoded. He tells the story of how they were led to decrypt the Thracian language, which was believed to be all just artistic renditions and to have no meaning behind it. And it was their, decrypting it that brought forth that it was the most ancient, the oldest language in the world. You can find an article on that, what, the about the Thracian script being decrypted. Last question, Carols of Joy. I love your name. What do you say about cremation? Any reason from yoga perspective against it? Um, no, I don't. The Vikings used to burn their dead, and even the gypsies, they would burn their dead, and they say that the flames help to carry the spirit up to heaven. So I don't. Uh, and I think it's like um where people can gather and pray for individuals. But I also think there's something to burying the body so it doesn't create disease or doesn't affect those around them. Um, Question being as does Zen have the vision of Paul at Sacred Word Publishing? Yes, It is found in the Testament of the Patriarchs and the Prophets, which has a number of very ancient texts that most people are not familiar with and do not know about. But anyways, so I think there's something to the Most High instructing people to bury the dead, especially if there's a time of disease or outbreak or war. That could really lead to infestation. So, individually, if you're burning or um, then that might be okay. But if you have a lot of dead and there's a lot of people dying, even like with all the fentanyl stuff that's going on right now, um, you just have to be careful because death leads to disease. And that's why the scavengers were instructed not to eat scavengers or bottom feeders or those that have the capacity to consume diseased or dead flesh. And they are able to live on these things. These creatures are believed to be unclean, but they have a purpose and a place in this world as well, and they are doing exactly what the Most High created them to do. All right, I appreciate all of you, and thank you for joining us again this evening. We'll see you Saturday for the Digital Readers Club, and those of you that can, please do join us. We have a really good time reading right now we're reading the Legends of the Jews, and it's been a very interesting read, and it's an awesome study. We've shared excerpts from it over the past 2 nights. All right, God bless all. Good night. Shalom.
Thank you everybody for joining us for this video and this broadcast. We appreciate all of you and thank you for your patronage. Please do like and subscribe and share with your friends. God bless all of you in your seeking.